All right, you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it.
All right. So, Eric, what do lawyers wear to court?
I don't know. What do they wear?
Lawsuits. Terrible.
Wow, you got me laughing.
That's bad.
I,
All
I,
right, what you got?
I don't I don't know if I can beat that. Jesus. Um, not gonna lie. I looked online. I was like, what are the top dad jokes? Just because I found one that I really liked. Hold on, just give me a second here. These are very corny. Um, if, if April showers bring Mayflowers, what do Mayflowers bring?
I got nothing.
Pilgrims.
Oh my God.
It's so stupid.
That's good. That's really funny. That's
It's
horrible.
you're like
Okay. That's awful, but that's what makes these jokes awesome. That's how
no,
terrible they are.
no. Honestly, what I do is I just typed in top dad jokes. I knew you're gonna ask me, so I was like, I gotta have a dad joke, but I was like, I didn't want to like on the spot freeze up and not no. I remember I still to this day think it's hilarious. Sean's gonna listen to this and laugh, but I feel like every time we'd ask Sean, he'd be like, just get back to me later. Like he wouldn't know right away. You just wouldn't have a dad joke. I'm the same way. I like freeze up like on the spot when it's on the spot. Like I can do a dad joke, but when it's on the spot. There's pressure. So I was like, you know what? I'll have something in front of me. It's a very corny dad joke.
That's the big
What was
difference
the
between performance in practice versus the game.
That's very true. You got to practice those. I got to start practicing my dad jokes. What did Tony have for his? Didn't he have something about like Will Smith or something like that? Do you remember
Oh
his?
yeah, it was the actually
No.
I sent this to my client the other day. It was how do you follow Will Smith in the snow?
Well, I forget what was the answer again. I already forget.
Follow the Fresh Prince.
Oh, that's what it was.
So
That was good. That's a good one. That's a
pretty
good one.
solid.
Love it.
So all right, man, you ready to get this thing going?
Let's go.
Let's
Let's
do
get
it,
it
man.
going.
All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Deadlifts, Dogs, and Dad Jokes. This is episode number 19, and I'm your host Demarco. My co-host Eric, and we're here to have some fun with you today. We're one of the things we're really gonna hammer through here is that we've kind of been talking about what we're focusing on, what our goals are with this show, and it really just comes down to one thing: we are here to help you become your strongest self and hopefully have some fun along the way. So that's really what it comes down to. And we're here to serve people through strength. We've talked about strength with purpose, which is kind of the start, which was the start of all of this, and what we're all about. So we're super pumped to be here with you today. And Eric and I are going to be talking about three main topics. So the three main topics are first one's going to be programming, so that's exercise and fitness programming for our clients. Then we're going to talk about exercise and fitness programming for ourselves. And we're going to talk about the similarities and differences between the two. So you'll notice a theme and a pattern with both of those. And then the last one, we're going to have some fun, and each of us is going to list our top 5 favorite Halloween movies. Now, when I say Halloween movies, I mean the genre, not just Halloween Michael Myers movies. So because that would start a huge internet debate.
Well,
But we're
just
opening it up.
to stop you, Demarco. One second. Halloween movies. I don't have a ton that I like that are my favorites, but I'll give you at least like 3 that I really like.
Perfect.
When we get to that, yeah.
And it doesn't have to take place in Halloween. So it can be a slasher movie. It can be a supernatural, horror movie. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
thriller.
exactly. It's like take Die Hard for instance. Like Die Hard, you get the debate of like, is it a Christmas movie? Where hardcore fans are going to say absolutely, but it just happens to be an action movie that takes place on Christmas. So
Yeah.
there's a funny thing there. So I'm not going to judge you for your choices. Don't worry. So all right, man, let's have some fun.
Do it.
So programming for clients, and this is always a fun topic for me because you just don't know where this is going to go. And I'm going to tell you right now, Eric and I have been in the game for quite a while now. I've been training 7-8 years, and we do have what Tony Gentilcore coined the trainable menu. We have certain exercises that we usually use for most clients, and
Yep.
that being said, there are variations based on the person's injury history, any
Mhm.
kind of limitations that they may have. the number one thing that drives all of this is the why, is the goal. What are we here to achieve? Eric and I are here as coaches to serve the client in front of us. It is not about us. It's not about our fancy program or a fancy little certification or little letters at the end of the name. It is simply, we are here to serve you. So it's up to you to figure out what your goal is. And most people come in with an aesthetic goal, like I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to get my A1C and my cholesterol down. You know, my doctor says I need to be healthier, yada, yada, yada. Blood pressure's up, need to get it down, which obviously nutrition's a big part of that as well. But we really hammer down what's the goal. And Eric and I've talked about this. We really try to emphasize a performance goal. I want you to train so that you can complete some kind of a task. It doesn't have to be the sinister challenge like I'm doing, or heavy barbell lifting like Eric is into. It can be something like, I want to train to run a 5K. I want to be able to perform a pull-up. I want to train for a Spartan race. There's all kinds of stuff, that you can find something you enjoy that's going to help you stay consistent, and let that be your North Star, kind of guide you through there. So once we figure out what that goal is, what the performance goal is, like let's say Eric, you're my client, and you come in and your goal is, I want to double bodyweight deadlift. It's like, cool. So first off, we go through your movement assessment. Eric's really big on the FMS, which I'll let you talk about when you get there, man. We go from the goal, do the movement screening, see if there are any major deficiencies or any things that need to be addressed or accounted for, make adjustments as needed, and then put together a plan. So this is going to sound simple and very obvious, but the plan will be dictated by the goal. If your goal, Eric, is to double bodyweight deadlift, then the main exercises that we're going to put in there are going to be some variation of the deadlift and what we call accessory exercises that are going to help strengthen and supplement your performance in the deadlift. So we'll use the deadlift as the main example here. My favorite accessory moves are the kettlebell swing. I'm a huge fan of heavy carries because they work on the grip strength, they work on the core activation, and pull-ups are a great one as well because they work on all that stuff as well. And single arm swings, especially because they work grip individually for each arm. So, but if someone comes to me and they say, I don't want to train with kettlebells, or I don't want to do this, I don't enjoy doing it, then, you got to make adjustments. You can't just have the one cookie cutter approach that you just hand out to clients with just a printout, like, okay, just do this, follow this program, hit buy now, and then you're done. There's more to it. There's more to it than that. So I have my main movements that I focus on with clients, and it comes down to the same movement patterns that Eric and I have talked about on this very show: squat, hinge, push, pull, carry. And people can throw in, like, say, the row or some kind of locomotion like running or jumping or walking, but those are kind of the main movements. Those movements are in every single program that I have written in the last 8 years that I've been a coach. The variation of movement is the secret sauce. Eric wants to pull double, which I'm sure you've probably already pulled double bodyweight deadlift. Let's say for you want to pull a triple bodyweight deadlift.
Wait. Triple bodyweight. Have I done triple bodyweight? I'm pretty close. I need to do some math for that one. I'll get back to you. I think what? Do you have a calculator in front of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let me pull it up.
Type in 170 is my body weight right now. Actually, currently 165, but when I pulled it, I was 170.
That's 5'10". That'd be a 5'10".
So yeah, I'm not that far yet. So I'm like 2.5 right now. Probably my best is 430, 425, 430 around there. Yeah, for deadlift. Yeah. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I was about 170 when I pulled my best last, and it was 410. So
nice, awesome. Yeah.
Feels good. Yeah, it feels good when you hit the point where that bar starts to really bend, and you start to feel like you're a real lifter.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take away from your conversation. You're great so far as we were talking about. I would say a couple things too to even add basically to what you're saying. Keeping it simple, as Mike Boyle would say, keep it simple, stupid. Don't complicate things. That's really easy to do. And exactly what you said as we hammer away all the time. Squat, push, pull, hinge. You had said carry. I think, yeah, variations of carries. There's obviously variations of the way you'd work your core. So, I don't want to sound sciencey, like anti-extension, anti-flexion, anti-lateral flexion, right? So all the different types of movements, that go in with the core. But if you're hitting all those movements and you're checking all those boxes, think of it as like an exercise checklist or a training menu, as we talked about. I think as long as you're checking those boxes off and you're doing that consistently, 3 by 52, so 3 times a week for a whole entire year, you will 100% make progress.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming you have a coach that can help you in the beginning, right? Assuming that you need this help, as far as most people when they first start out need this, as far as to learn how to do the movements properly, get the techniques down first, and then progress over time. A progressive plan is going to be the best plan. So, if you're doing the same thing over and over again every week, progress is going to be hard, right? You're not going to, if you're doing the same things, usually you'll know those people because they'll either get bored or they'll stop. So, to me, and again, you'll add to this as well, but that's why the coach is so valuable. And with the programming from a standpoint of to our clients, like you said, matching our fitness goals, matching injury history, training history.
Yeah.
Their abilities are obviously is going to be different than maybe our abilities or someone that's been training for a while. So when you have somebody new in front of you, you always have to think about all the variables, but at the end of the day, try to keep the recipe the same or very similar. It may change a little bit from person to person, like I said, based on injuries, but overall, the recipe is going to be very similar every time you start with somebody. So you had mentioned the screening process, and like I usually use the functional movement screening. Just to give you an overview, you basically go through a couple different patterns, just to sort of see what they can do, not what they can't do. I always say, like, do the approach of like the green light, yellow light, red light. So you'll see like what's a green, what they can do really well. It's scored between pain, which means stay away from that movement, all the way up to a 3 where you're performing it very well. But at the end of the day, it just gives us kind of a rubric or a starting point, and then we sort of go from there. So I don't know how much experience you have in the FMS, but I've more or less over the last year or two adopted it more. I didn't use it as much when I first started, but I think I've been adopting. There's a couple coaches at Lifetime where I work. They're really big into the FMS. They got me into it. Not that I wasn't using that before. I was still screening, but it was just in a different way. At the end of the day, I think you have to have some sort of process. You can't just hand somebody a program and say, hey, just do this, right? So let me ask you this. I guess this would be good to kind of get the listeners to understand what a program may look like. Give me an example, I guess, and of maybe a client you've had in the past, maybe you just started with, what you did. What would the first month look like of a program? We'll say a foundational program.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, because that kind of popped in my head a little while ago. I was thinking, man, we should, and we definitely need to do a whiteboard at some point in one of these episodes and people a visual. But yes, no, I think that's awesome. I'm going to tell you what my very first program was, and then I'm going to tell you what a newer, say updated, say for my last new client that I started training looks like, and I'll give you a breakdown of the similarities and differences. So when I first became a coach back in 2013, which feels like forever ago, that was the year, I believe that was the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl. So that's how long ago that was, when Joe Flacco was still there. Just to give you a little history lesson there. But I always, and it's so funny, when I started, I had my certification and all that. I had absolutely no idea what the hell I was doing. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I just picked it up as I went along. I luckily leaned on some amazing people. I found some, which we'll talk about this in a future episode, but I found some really, really cool people online that I was reading. This is pre-Instagram days. There was Facebook, but this was back in the Teen Nation article days, and reading those bodybuilding.com forums, and I happened to stumble upon some great resources. But my first program I ever wrote was a simple 3 exercise circuit. And this was the way I was programming for most clients back then. It was twice a week was kind of the standard that most folks were doing. I have some that do 3 times, but most of the time it's once or twice a week is what clients were doing back then. And it was all machine based. I was very afraid of barbell training. I was very afraid of body weight. I was thinking, let's just do machines. They're safer, and the client's not going to get hurt. So that was my reasoning back then. First circuit ever was 3 exercises. So 3 to 4 rounds in the circuit. And first exercise was the chest press. The second exercise was the leg press. And the third exercise was the lat pull down or the seated machine row. So a push, a pull or row, and a lower body push, and or squat, quote unquote, mostly just a lower body push. So full body in nature. And the secondary day was typically machine overhead press, hamstring curls, and then the row, either the pull down or the row. I would do the other movement on the other day. So even back then, the one thing I will give myself credit for is I did have an idea back then that full body workouts were going to be really time efficient, because back then I was doing 30-minute sessions with a client. So, when the client shows up on time, it's great. But the problem is when people are running late, 30 minutes goes just like that. If they show up 15 minutes early, warm up, ready to rock and roll, it's great. But if you show up late, you got to get your stuff, you got to do this. The time evaporates quickly. But so those circuits were very necessary during that time crunch. So fast forward to today, it's 2021. What would a program look like for a new client? So I still follow that same formula. The only thing that changes is the exercises. I'm training a lot of people outside. So I do a lot more body weight, a lot more kettlebell stuff, but the movements themselves are still the same. I program push-ups a lot. If someone can safely and effectively perform push-ups from the floor, we do push-ups from the floor. I have many clients who are not there yet. And what we will do is I'll have them put their hands up on a bench or literally I'll use the bumper of my car and use that incline push-up so that they can still train the movement, but regressing it to their level. So we still do a push. We don't do a machine chest press because I'm not going to lug around a machine for my sessions. But goblet squats are one of my go-tos, holding the kettlebell up here, either in the goblet or cleaning it, holding it in that front rack position. Huge fan, particularly of the double kettlebell when you've reached that level of strength and ability to maintain that good tight cylinder position. And I love kettlebell swings. I love Turkish get-ups, which I'm super biased because I'm a kettlebell guy. But rows, I love doing like the renegade rows, bent over rows. Doing even a resistance band wrapped around like a fence, doing those standing or seated band rows. So notice how the movements are the same. You're pushing, you're pulling, you're squatting, you're hinging. The only thing that's different is maybe the tool and the nuance, but also the actual exercise selection. I'm a very minimalist. I've become more of a minimalist, particularly with the last year of the pandemic and everything. So I pride myself on having become a little bit of a MacGyver as far as fitness, being able to squeeze a lot of juice out of a little bit of equipment.
Yeah, I like that, and also too, I'm guessing body weight. I don't know if you had to push. I don't know if you said push-ups.
Yeah,
some variation of a sit-up maybe, and then I think that's exactly where I was thinking you were going with that. It was good that you paralleled when you first started and to where you are now. There's a lot of similarities as far as just how your template is. So you kind of didn't stray away from that, but the movements you're doing are different. You're choosing a different variation of those movements. But you kept the principle pretty much the same. So that's great. So I like that. I would say I'm much in the same camp. When I first started, I was a wellness coach. I worked at a YMCA and same idea. So I wasn't able to write up a full program as a wellness coach. Like I wasn't able to prescribe training programs just yet. It was one of those things. I think I was not even certified yet, if I recall. I think I was like in that. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a wellness coach, but basically it's similar to a trainer, but it's where you get like pieces. You can help somebody get started on a program, but like they probably already have the program implemented. You know what I mean? Like they already have it and you just kind of take them through. But at the YMCA, it was all machine based stuff. So it's like you said, like a chest press, leg press, all that kind of stuff. Honestly, I would just go in order, like because their program was already written out, and I just had to take them through all the movements.
Oh yeah.
So I honestly think for me, the thing that really helped me when moving to Boston and starting at Mike Goyle's was more of the coaching side of things. I think for me, I told myself, I was like, I'll figure out the nitty gritty program design part that'll come eventually. Like that's the sexy artistic type stuff that I'll get eventually.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, I just want to, I gotta like, I felt like coaching was hard. I'd want to like, I'm a very, and I'm sure and you're similar to me, like kind of ADD. Like I'm all over the place. So it's one of those things like to stay focused. I think it's good to just have a couple cues that you tell someone and just stay, stick to like the 10-second rule, 10 seconds or less when you cue somebody, and then you can always tweak them over time, as far as if they need specific cues that, to make them do things the right way. But I think when I first started, I would just like say a lot of things at once, and they're like, what do you want me to do? Like, so I think it just took me a while. Yeah. Right. So it just took me a while to learn that. So I guess the key to all this, you said it perfectly, is to have a plan, but like stick to whatever that recipe is. As far as you were mentioning that you kept it pretty much the same, but just different training menu essentially, based on the tools you have and what would work best for that individual. I'm in the same camp. As far as with my clients, I do the same exact thing. I keep it pretty simple. Obviously, it's client by client. I think it all goes down to the planning process, right? So it's like, how many days can they commit to, and that's gonna determine how I make the program, right? So like a 3-day a week, we'll say 2 to 3 days a week is sufficient. That's fine. That's gonna, I think, the most bang for your buck, or the best opportunity as far as for growth and for long-term growth would be full body workouts, as opposed to doing like body part splits if you're only gonna do 2 to 3 days a week. However, in that same camp, I think again it all goes down to like, how many days am I committing to? What can I do consistently long term? And then also where is my abilities? Where's my fitness level? Where's my injury? Stuff like that. So it's all going to go back to all that. Again, I'm in the camp of less is more. So like, I would rather give somebody a smaller training menu up front. Yeah. Like you said, a goblet squat, push up, split squat, dumbbell row, some form of a farmer carry. Yeah. I don't want to make sure I miss anything. What else we got? So you got your squat, you got a hinge pattern. So find some sort of hinge that, might be, you might start body weight. You might start with a PVC pipe, but just getting them to understand or hone in on the foundational movements, get the techniques down first. I'd rather have somebody get really, really, really good at the basics and just start with that for the first couple weeks. And I always say, like, everyone's going to be at a different point, meaning like person A might learn the movements a little bit quicker. And I'm not going to say that they're going to progress as far as into a new phase that much faster, but in reality, kind of what it is, that they'll be able to kind of level up and move on as they get better. So it's really going to be person by person, and everyone's going to have their own starting point. But at the end of the day, you're going to start people. You're going to have a progression or regression, or a baseline, right? So like that's what we learned even with the CFSC when I was there. Always have that handy. You always want to have in the back of your head, or write this down, is where's the person's baselines, where's the regressions, where are the progressions, so that way you should already have that system.
Real quick, man, just for our audience, I'm sure the coaches know what we're talking about. What is so say exercise progression, regression? Would you want to go into what those are specifically?
Yeah. So basically, when I look at a progression or a regression from an exercise standpoint, so let's say the baseline movement, whatever that is, that would be somewhere like where we'd start most individuals. A regression would be something that would be a modification if, let's say, the baseline was not achievable, or we needed to work down. We'd go into a regression. So we would do a movement. But let's say, let's use a push-up as an example. Let's say baseline could be just a body weight push-up from the ground. We could do a baseline, or excuse me, we could do a regression as you incline. So you would elevate their upper body to put a little bit less tension on the core and just work on that pattern. So elevating their upper body for a push-up. A progression could be, you do the opposite. You have your feet on a bench and you're elevated, but you're working your core more, or you do like a weighted push-up. There's all these different variations. So I think, again, so progression would be on the higher end. So something that's going to be a little bit more difficult. Regression is going to be a little bit less difficult, a little less on the totem pole. But doesn't mean when I say less, it just means as a starting point based on where the baseline is. So I would say that's the best kind of description for that. But to add to all that as well, again, I think it really depends on the person in front of you, because everyone's going to be different on where their starting points are. Hence why that training menu is going to be so important in knowing where that person is. Outside of that, I guess a couple other questions I have for your general pop client. How do you hold them accountable? So like let's say they're training with you only one time a week or maybe even twice a week, but they want to do things on their own. How do you go about that? Like how do you go about that to make sure that you know that they're going to do it safely and effectively?
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest with you. I am the perpetual nice guy. So this is something
Okay.
I'm always trying to work on as being
Yeah.
not mean, but definitely asking the tough questions, because that's really what
Yep.
it comes when it comes down to accountability. Is, what are your goals? We've talked about it. These are what you told me your goals are. Do your short-term actions align with your long-term goals? That's
Yep.
a question that was asked on a great podcast that I've listened to for years, the Minimalist podcast.
Yep.
But anyways, so that's a tough question. That's a good guiding question to ask. I just do text. I just text my clients and say, hey, how's it going? How the workouts go? The easier part for me is for most of my clients, we have an in-person and then a programming component. And I'm going to say something a lot of coaches may disagree with in a moment, but so I use an app for the programming. So it has an exercise library, I put it all together, and I get notifications when client X does, say, workout A, full body A, or whatever, workout one,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it. So that's a good way for the accountability side. It's like, oh, so and so did this workout, awesome, good stuff. I'll ask them, like our next in person session. I'll say, hey, how'd the workout go? How'd the swings feel? How'd your pull ups feel, etc. If someone is very intrinsically motivated and they're doing their thing and they're killing it, they're rocking the workouts, I'm only going to adjust as I need to. So if we're like one of my clients, Marissa, for instance, who's just a stud,
Yeah.
she's like busts her ass, works really hard. With her process, it's very much we're showing up, we're doing the thing, and there's very minimal kind of coaching and cueing,
Yeah.
because she's reached a certain level, which is exciting. It's really cool, and I don't have to ask her if she's done her workouts, because she and I were old school. We just do a Google spreadsheet and just rock and roll that way. But anyways, if someone is not as consistent with the workouts, then it just becomes a matter of, well, let's talk about goals, let's talk about motivation, but also what's going on in your life right now. Because I
Mm.
can assure you that the first 3 or 4 months of being a dad, my training was very sporadic. I started off with like once a week, and then I gradually went to 2 times a week, and now I'm back up to like 3 or 4. But I'm also sleeping more, I'm eating better, and we've got a better handle on our schedule. I'm going to say something a lot of coaches are going to disagree with, and that's okay. I don't program for every single client that I train, and I will tell you why. When I say that, I program every session. So when I come in and I train with a client, let's say client A, we train. Let's say we meet once a week, and we do the thing. We work out, we have fun, and do the fist bumping and all that. I always offer on the front end when a client works with me. I say there's an in-person component and there's a programming component. Now it's up to you to take advantage of the programming component. Every single client that comes into my door, the first month that we train, we do in person and I write them a program. But you got to do the program, and there's got to be responsibility on your end. So again, I'm going to catch some heat for this, and that's totally fine. If a client is only going to do the workouts with me in person, and let's say we're meeting, once or twice a week, then so be it. That's okay. And I have some clients that meet every other week, so it all depends on scheduling.
Mm.
If you're not going to do the program,
What's the point?
I'm not going to waste my time and yours writing a program that you're
Yeah.
not going to do. That's a hot take. I don't want to sound not like I'm sounding aggressive. I've just, over the last 8 years I've trained, I can tell you I've written a lot of programs that were not completed, and it's all about time for me.
Mm.
Flip side of the coin, I have some clients that train with me very, very frequently, and we really don't need for them to do anything else. Like Marissa, for instance, we're training, 3 times a week. I really don't want her doing that much more in addition. She and I do strength work. We do kettlebell work. We do mobility and some conditioning, but she runs on her own. So she's good. She doesn't have any other strength stuff to do. I want her to really rest and come back for the next session strong. So in regards to like when I do a program and accountability, I tailor it to the person. So I have some people that they're just not going to do it, and that's okay. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to get you motivated. It's my job to be your guide. And I'm not Jamie Foxx standing in the ring with Muhammad Ali / Will Smith, getting ready to fight. It's I know my role, and I don't try to be more than what I am. We can expand our role with certain things, but and I know this probably sounds negative. I don't want for it to sound that way. I have tried to become more of a realist and to meet the person where they are.
Right. So exactly, and that goes back to, I hear it all the time. Tommy always would reference it. Tommy would reference it, but also I've heard it from other strength coaches. How you're in the passenger seat, they're driving the car. So you have the GPS map for them. Okay, this is where I want you to go. I'm going to be your guide to get there as the coach, right? But I'm gonna do my part on my end, like you had said, right? So it's like if you're only going to tell me you're going to commit to 1 day a week, then that's on you. Like there's nothing I can't be like, you have to work out. Like I used to put so much effort into being like come on, you got to get to the gym these other days, but they don't want to do it. So you can't force anybody. So I think as long as you have that discussion up front,
exactly,
setting expectations with the person and sitting them down and being like, look, based on what you're telling me, right? So you set them you give them expectations and say, you're going to come in 1 time a week. Look at it from a standpoint of the goals you're trying to achieve. It's going to take you a really damn long time to get there. Right. However, you'll still probably feel pretty good when you come in to work out the 1 day a week, but it's not going to get you the results you're looking for. However, 2 days or more, I'd argue to say 2 days is still going to get you some pretty good progress and results. However, I think a good sweet spot is 3 or 4 days a week is the ideal for somebody to really make some great progress. And that being said too, is like you had said, they have to do on their end the work to get the results as well. Like you can do so much, or you can only do so much as far as from the programming everything for them, texting them and being there for them. Like I said, you're the guide, but at the end of the day, they have to put the work in. So, right. And I think it comes down to like, okay, are they disciplined? Are they committed, to what you're telling them? I think what I'm starting to do more, I'm really starting this more in the last couple months, is I try to have client calls. So I'll call a client.
I like that, yeah.
Now again, I don't do this with every client, but some clients that want a little bit more, they want more of my resource. Like, hey, you want some nutritional tips, or you want to know more of the X's and O's of the program, right? You might, I think sometimes people on their own get stuck, even if they're training with you. They like to have that eye. They like to have you there to correct them. So when you say, here's your off day work that I want you to work on, like here's the other days of the program, do these days. If they're not, they're still learning, so they want you in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, they're just used to that. So I think sometimes it comes into having you again as the guide, and sometimes like a client call will help. Sometimes I'll have them send me exercise videos. So videos of them doing the movements on their own, and then I correct them. When I see it, I'll look at the video and I'll give them a couple corrections. So I think that's helped me a lot. Just to kind of build my value up. Like you had mentioned, you said you use an app for your, what do you use for programming? Is it a Google Docs, but then you use an app as well?
Yeah, I use Google Docs, but I also use Trainerize. Trainerize is the name of the app.
Yeah, so Lifetime, we use Trainerize as well. Yeah. It's Lifetime branded, but it's the same idea. Yeah, exactly. I also have True Coach too. I have a couple long time clients I've had for years that they love True Coach. So I've made True Coach their number one. That being said, though, at the end of the day, you just got to find some sort of tracking app or whatever, tracking whatever you want to use, whatever that is. There's not really a wrong answer, but finding something that you can use, that way you can track progress over the long term and be able to utilize that. But I even go a step further with a lot of people too. Like we talked about the process goals and the outcome goals. Like, yeah, you can be training all you want, but there's that other percentage of the nutrition, the sleep, hydration, and all that other stuff that are like key components.
Oh, absolutely.
Sleep, if I said sleep, but all of those are really key. If you're not being consistent with some of those, like you're just falling short on a couple of those. I think, forget his name. Oh man, I can't remember his name, but he had like a chart. It had like a grading system, and it went through all the things. It'd be like nutrition, D, like sleep, F. It has all these things.
Absolutely,
And if you're not doing well in all those different categories, the training won't mean nearly as much. It's not going to have the same benefits. Yeah, you might feel a little bit better, but you're not going to change as far as physically, and then your mental state may go down. I mean, yeah, you'll make feel a little bit better after the workouts, but if you're not eating the right foods or you're not fueling your body or recovering, like that's going to all have implications on your results.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and then even to add to that too, I think yes, we'll kind of segue this because I think with a Gen Pop client, it's more of like get started, with the basics, be consistent with the basics, have a progressive system that like, okay, they're starting here and then we're going to move them here, right? I think knowing that you have that system in place, at least if I was the client, as long as you tell your clients like, hey, like I'm going to start you here, but you're going to wave in and out of different rep schemes. You're going to wait, like, when I say rep schemes, I don't want to get too detailed, but basically going from like strength stuff to more endurance based stuff to more hypertrophy and there's all these different metrics. You can look all these things up for anybody that's new to this, but basically as long as you're because a lot of times people get stuck in program ruts and they just do the same program,
big time.
Same rep schemes, all that stuff. So the program you're not doing is typically the best program because it's the one where you have the least, we'll say, stimulus to. So your body's not used to those movements. So I think it's finding the training menu, but also being able to wave in and out of reps. The exercises won't change all that much. You'll still have, like you said, a main lift, whatever that is, like a squat, a deadlift, some sort of press, a hinge, etc. And then you'll have accessories for those. Accessories will include like single leg exercises. It'll include vertical, horizontal pushes and pulls. It'll include core movements. And then of course you put your flavor on it, right? So like based on the individual in front of you, if it's like a guy client, so it's like me or you, and we're like, we want big arms, we want big shoulders, like we may that's where the artistic part comes in. That's where like we would say, okay, based on that individual, I may throw in some more shoulder and more arm work to kind of meet the demands of that individual, right? That's where the goals come in. But you get creative with it as opposed to being like really vanilla with it. I think the creative part comes more after you've been with the person for a while. So I think at the beginning it's more foundational. Like I'm not going to give bicep curls probably to someone who's day one. You know what I mean? So it's like it's somebody that has more experience, has been training for a little while. That's when we can start really throwing a little more of a flavor in there. I always say like, Dan John says easy training is good training. Like a lot of times the foundational, we'll say the easy training, like things that are basic are probably better than things that are just more complex and yes, they may serve for some people, but until you have the experience, I would just say stick with basics. But I wanted to segue, so we have that going more into someone with like ourselves has a lot more experience. I want to get your take first. I'll give you my take. But how would you program for someone like myself, or let's say like Sean, or like somebody else, like in our fitness level, in our camp, we'll say like somebody that's been training for a little while?
Yeah, that's a great question and a great segue. So again, we're factoring in training age, goals, exercise, training age / exercise history, any injuries, current, past, present, current, past, present. But I was about to say future.
Past, present, current,
I can't.
You have to say future, right? Past, present, future. Yeah.
Past, present, future. Yeah. But anyway, so factoring those in, what's the goal? What do you enjoy doing? And where are you currently at? So, it's funny, and I'm going to use myself as a great example of this. I'm with some movements, you could consider me to be a more intermediate / advanced lifter. I've been training the kettlebell movements for the last 3 years. I've worked up to some pretty good levels as far as strength and endurance, and could you could say I'm definitely a little bit on the slightly higher end there. I don't say that to sound arrogant. I just say that to give you the context. However, if I came to someone and I said, "Hey, I want to learn how to snatch a barbell or how to yeah, we'll just stick with that. Snatch a barbell or do like a power clean or something. I would be level one, very, very new, very green, and would come as a beginner. Or if, let's say you and I, we wanted to go like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu dojo. I would have a negative integer of experience. So
Dude, you're giving me Cobra Kai images right now. You said the
yeah,
dojo thing.
There we go. Cobra Kai, I love it. But so for me, it's a matter of everybody can benefit from a coach. So I am, again, in the kettlebell world, a quote unquote, maybe you could consider me an advanced lifter. I still have a coach. And that coach sees what I don't see, and they help me progress along, and we make little tweaks here and there, and we do it that way. So Eric, let's say you were coming to me as a client and you've been training for probably 10 to 15 years, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would say I always say the first few years were me just learning. So I'd say like, geez, 32. So I think I started like legitimately training probably by like 20. So yeah, we'll say 10 to 12 years. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my big thing would be, we would talk about goal setting. I would want to see a baseline. So let's take it back to, let's bring it full circle. Let's say you had a 2.5 times body weight deadlift right now. You want to get it to a triple. You really want to hit the 510 on the deadlift. So my very first thing would be, let's see your deadlift. Let me see what it looks like.
Let's do an audit, technique audit.
Exactly, technique audit, because I'm telling you, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how strong you are. There's always something to work on, especially when you're getting up to that level of poundage. There's always going to be some kind of compensation. We're not robots. We're not deadlifting Terminators like Tony Gentilcore said on our show a while ago. Although we want to be, we're training to become deadlift Terminators. So we do that. We establish a baseline, address any deficiencies, and put together a plan. I mean, the thing is when you're and you know this like I do, when you're a new trainee, newbie gains, that's what we've coined it in the fitness world. You can do basically anything and make
progress. Totally.
I read a study one time. It was in one of my college fitness classes, and it's exercise science classes, and it showed a study that if you take an untrained individual, and they had I think it was like 25 or maybe 30 untrained folks. I think it was male and female, but anyways, they ran, say, 3 miles 2 or 3 times a week or something like that. It was some kind of study where they did just aerobic training on a treadmill. They did a pre and post test. Of course, their endurance improved, right? And their VO2 max, all that stuff improved. Mm-hmm. Resting heart rate decreased. Their strength improved in lifts. They were doing no resistance training. So pretty much just about anything you do when you're an untrained individual will get you results. And, you do a new workout for the first time and you get really, really sore. Obviously it's a new stimulus. Your body's not used to that. It has to adapt to it. So if I just hand you a cookie cutter deadlift program and I say, okay, I just want you to do, let's just say West Side Barbell for Skinny Bastards, the program that Joe DeFranco popularized about a decade ago. And that may work for you, but if I just give you that cookie cutter program, especially for an advanced trainee / lifter like you, that's really doing you a disservice. You could probably do that with a beginner, and they'll probably get some really good results. But for you, it would be a matter of getting into more advanced variations of the movement. You're over 400 pound deadlift. You're like a 430, 435 deadlift. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously going to pull heavy, but we're going to have you do some really, really heavy trap bar deadlifts. We're going to do rack pulls. We're going to do deficit deadlifts. We're going to do, or block pulls would be another variation. We're going to do, I'm me. I love those heavy kettlebell swings. I particularly double bell because it gets you in that wider sumo stance, which carries over to that sumo deadlift. So, but that's not something I would do for a new trainee. I'm not loading up a new trainee with a heavy kettlebell swing. And I would still make sure that you could safely swing a kettlebell before we even went heavy. So there's still that emphasis of adjusting to the person's individual level. Yeah,
can I add to that? Because I was going to say, when you made a good point. If you were to give me like Joe DeFranco's program, which I think there's one about like deadlift deadlift badass something or other. I forget what he called it.
Oh,
but there's
strong bastard 911.
Is that what it is? I was
Yeah.
completely off on that. But regardless, like let's just use that as an example. Like if I just took his program and just tried to follow it, like you said, yeah, I could probably make some decent results. Even because I have that experience now, as far as I've been working out for a while, I'll probably recognize most of the movements. The problem with I say a cookie cutter approach, if you use like a magazine or something like that, it doesn't account for how you move. There's no there's no baseline, right? So you're just trying to take that program. Even if I have experience, there might be some movements that I'm not very efficient in. So I always think like exercise execution and progression are going to be the top two things. So if I'm not executing the movement properly, who the hell cares what you give me? You know what I mean? So that's why the coach is so valuable. And then being able to progress those movements, right? So if like at the end of the day, kind of like what I was saying before, the whole progression regression thing. If you're just taking a program you find online, let's say, not even Joe DeFranco, whoever it is, like there's a lot of good experienced coaches. If most people that take these programs are typically people that don't have enough experience to really understand where their movement quality currently is. You know what I mean? Like they don't have, like it's one thing for me or you to do it, not to say that we're better than anyone else, but like somebody that has more experience probably could get away with doing in a more advanced program, like Joe DeFranco, or whoever, a specialty type program out there, any of them. But at the end of the day, like it's not going to take into account where you're currently at. So I think that's where a coach comes in for the feedback part, for the execution part, to make sure that movements look really good in quality and make sure that you're progressing those movements over the course of time. So I think, again, that just showcases the value of a client or a coach right there. Not to try to sell anyone. I'm not trying to sell anyone to have a coach. I'm not a good salesman. But it's one of those things. I just know what works.
That's the one thing we actually suck at. It's sales and counting reps. We can tell you how to squat.
And I'm sure you'll relate to this too. Like this podcast is not about us selling you on coaching or training. Like you have to do coaching. Like, I may say that a lot. Like this is why you should sign up. I say the word should, sign up. But in reality, like that's not what we're here for. We want to just educate, inform, and help move. We'll say the industry, help move people forward as far as to get started, and then serve the person in front of us. So I think at the end of the day, like, if we can get people excited to want to do these things, it's more apt that long term they'll see the benefits, right? So like in the beginning, they may not see the benefits to all this, and then as they train longer and longer, they're like, oh, I feel pretty good, and then they progress, their confidence goes up. So mental state improves, physically they improve, and then over time, there's a chart that talks about how the course of like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to a year, how your body can progress physically and mentally. So I think that there's a lot. And obviously, I don't want to get too crazy in detail with all this, but like X's and O's with more of an advanced client, I think you had said this already, but it holds true. The movement patterns are all going to still be the same. It's not like we're doing some sort of like special circus act, as far as when we train. Right. It's going to be the same things. I'm still going to deadlift. I'm still going to squat. I'm still going to push, pull. The logistics behind how we do it may be a little bit differently. Like I currently do upper lower splits. Like some days all lower body, some days all upper body. There's all these other things without getting crazy into detail, but you could do like push pull legs, push pull leg upper lower. You could do, what else we got? You could do a body part split. I'm not a big fan of those. I don't think they work for most people. But if you're a bodybuilder, cool. But you're what we call the one-offs. Like a one-off would be okay. Like a small percentage of you would probably reap the benefits from it because you're going for a competition or something like that. But the general population, correct me if I'm wrong, but full body workouts, upper lower, push pull leg, you're probably towards the top there. And then, like I said, there's always the one-offs or variations of what I just said. But yeah, I think those are the big things. I missed anything?
No, not at all. I think those are all super great points, man. And in regards to the body part bro split, as it's called, I did that for years. So you and I feel like most guys and girls for that matter, a lot of people kind of, because the bodybuilding culture has really and I'm going to say, I think overall positively. I think it's very positively affected the fitness industry.
I'm not knocking the bro split. Right, I think there's individuals that can manage that. I think again, I know that this is live, but it's like I like as a coach, like I definitely don't steer to that style of training. But I'm not going to knock people that do. If somebody likes it and they feel good doing it, like I'm not going to stop you. It's just that I know there could be more efficient ways based on that person's goals or based on their experience. So like I said, I think it's just usually in most cases, I think that I find that there's probably better approaches. But like I said, it doesn't mean that it's wrong if somebody did that approach by any means.
I couldn't agree more. And again, I did that body part bro split, session
for years.
And I
did it till I pretty much I went when I started at Mike Boyle strength and conditioning. That's when I sort of like it opened my eyes. I was a sponge. I think again, like being a sponge in the industry as a fitness professional, as a coach, but also even as the client or somebody just starting out, be a sponge. Like be open to trying new things and be patient. Right. I think those are like keys. Like at the end of the day, like you're not going to get results right away. So just be patient on making that progress over time. And then also be open to trying new things. I think a lot of times people get stuck in, I need to do something a certain way. So I think you're in the kettlebell world now, definitely more in the barbell, free weight world, functional world. But that being said, they all collide. And I think, there's a lot of different tools in the toolbox to use. But I think it's good to try to be, diverse, be diverse in this world and try new things out. Don't be afraid to try something new. I think that's something that I learn every day. I think that's something that I've been using more and more now. It's like, okay, like this approach is cool, but let's try it this way. So I think I'm always sort of making small tweaks or adjustments, but have a system in place is key. But like I said, I think it's okay, in my opinion, it's okay to sometimes go off script a little bit. Sometimes some days you don't feel, you're just not feeling it. Like, right. I think some days you're going to be, your body's broken down. You're going to either just do a recovery day or you do like more mobility, or, sometimes you go off a script. I'm sure you've had some clients in the past, like I've had, where like they come in, they tell me they feel like shit. I'm not going to have them do, 85% of their 1RM on a deadlift on that day.
Not a good idea.
You have to sort of meet the demands of the person in front of you, how they're feeling. It's day to day, right? So it's week by week, day by day. I have a client I train now. I train him 3 times a week. I used to train him 4 times a week. And that's what I'd always tell him. I'm like, hey man, like we're meeting 4 times. When we were meeting 4 times a week, he made amazing progress. Like he is dropped so much body fat. He's added so much lean muscle.
He's probably super strong.
Do what?
He's probably super strong. He's
super strong. He's been with me for about a year, and he's literally quadrupled his strength on every movement. I'm kidding. Awesome. And he had just started with me a year ago. He'd never touched a weight. And I guess the big thing I even try to tell him, even to this day, when I train him, is like every day isn't going to be great. You're going to have some days you feel like shit, and it's I think Tony said it. Tony Genacor was like 80% of the time you'll feel pretty good, and you'll hit all your numbers. You'll just be like at baseline, which is fine. That's where you want to be. 10% of the time you're going to feel like shit. So like 1 out of every 10 workouts is going to be awful. Yeah. And you're like, okay. Then the other 10% you're going to be a rock star, and you're going to go above and beyond. Exactly. So like I said, you usually fall around that 80% where most workouts go according to plan, and you just hit the reps you need and the sets you need and everything else. So I think those are the main things. And like I said, obviously, based on what that person's preference are, I think I might have already mentioned that, but I think somebody that's more advanced, they have more of a preference on how they want to train. I think that obviously I have my way, and I'm going to tell you the most efficient way, in my opinion. However, I always leave it open to that person, say like, what kind of tools do you like to train with? You know what I mean? Like they like kettlebells. We got to kind of match that. So if I was training you, I'm sure you would love barbell stuff, but you'd want me to throw in some kettlebell work, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. It's I cannot see a future where I don't do at least some kettlebell work, even after I finish training for the Sinister Challenge and doing all that. No, I love kettlebell work, but no, I'm with you, man. Barbell is my first love. I love squat, bench, deadlift a whole lot. So those are, and I'm very much excited to get back into those movements when 100%.
Well, I was going to say, I need to get more into the kettlebell world and start doing that more. I definitely want to get, like, whenever you guys go for another cert, I definitely want to be a part of that for sure. I think that there's so much value that I can give to my clients with that. So
we're gonna do some workshops too, man. I think you and I should, and this is down the road, but we did our Indian clubs workshop last month. I saw that. Had a super blast. But no, we should talk about later. We should talk about a workshop where we kind of mix all the methods together. Barbell, body weight, kettlebells.
A couple other closing points for me that I wanted to say is finding, like with training too. I think finding your weak points or weak links, or obviously we've probably said this already, but that's going to be crucial, especially someone with a lot of experience who may have been performing a movement wrong for a while, or let's say poorly. Say wrong, but there might be some things
suboptimally.
Right, suboptimally. As I say the right word, suboptimally. Right. So I think finding the right tweaks for them, that's where coach can come in there. But also cycling the workouts, and I think I've already said this, but being able to wave in and out of movement, or in and out of movements, and also in and out of rep schemes, right? So I think you do something for a 4 or 6 week period of time. Stick to those movements. Don't change it every week because your body needs some sort of adaptation to those movements. You have to practice. Right. Then after that 4 or 6 week period, then change it up. And then you can change the rep scheme up a little bit. You can change the movements up a little bit, but still keep the template the same. I think at the end of the day, and I think I've sort of alluded to this in the beginning, we're talking more about the movements themselves. However, this still includes a warm up. You still want to make sure you're warming up before you go to work out. So like all my clients have some sort of like mobility or flexibility work prior to their training program. Yep. And then you go into your exercise movements. And then a lot of times I'll do some sort of like conditioning at the end, based on the individual's goals. But again, it all goes back to sticking to the recipe, in the long term, and not just trying to like after 4 or 6 weeks of something being like, okay, I'm done. That's it. I'm going to just not do anything or go back to like a bro split. Try to see something through a longer lens or longer period of time before you say it's not working. Because 1 month, you can relate to this, I'm sure, with clients. If somebody comes back to you after 1 month and says like, I'm not seeing progress, it's like you could go back to the process goals and be like, okay, are you doing these process goals? Oh, you're not? Okay. This is why you're not. So usually there's always this is why you didn't get to X, Y, or Z and anything you do. And that would relate to that. And then I would say to see a lot of physical change, it's usually at least 2 to 3 months, I would say minimum for most people. I start to really see a physical difference from where you started. Mentally, you might be a lot better after 1 week, but I think as far as physically, it's going to take a little bit longer. Anything to add to that?
No, not at all, man. I think I think those are all great points, and definitely we can segue into our final topic. So Eric, I'm going to edit this out, so don't worry about it. I'm about to piss my pants, so I'm going to go use the bathroom really quick, and I'll come right back, and we can finish off with the last segment. Don't worry, I'll edit all this stuff out.
yeah. So make sure this is all saved. Make sure you don't delete it.
Yeah. Oh God, I'll be right back. No. Oh man, sorry about that. I had 3 cups of coffee and 2 tall glasses of water, so I wasn't. It was about to be an emergency.
Let me ask you this on the Halloween topic. A couple things. What are you going to be for Halloween? What's your costume?
That's a great question. So we're going simple this year. We're going to do matching Batman / Batgirl shirts. So, and just kind of do a fun family photo and do some stuff. What are you doing for Halloween?
So we have at Lifetime on Thursday of this upcoming week. We're all dressing up as dinosaurs.
Awesome.
So I got to get my costume. I'm probably going to go either today or tomorrow. Grab costume for that. It should be funny. I'll send you a photo or two. Should be a good time.
That's
awesome. Then over the weekend, I might go to a Halloween party or two. There's one of my friends down the road's having a theme party on, I think it's Saturday night, and then my roommate wants to host something at our place on Sunday. So we'll see. That'll be an action-packed weekend. So we'll see how that goes.
That'll be fun, man. Well, have fun. We're gonna do some very light Halloween partying with the little one, but that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, all right, man.
So I was gonna say, what are some of your top Halloween movies?
Yeah. So final segment, y'all. So top 5 Halloween movies, and let's have fun. So this is tough. My favorite I'm not going to give them in a particular order because I love all, but these are 5 movies that I watch every single year around Halloween, and
Okay.
they have to happen. I just love them so much. So first one I can think of is Halloween H2O. So it's one of the sequels to the original Halloween movie, and it's Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back, reprises her role as Laurie Strode, and it takes place 20 years after the original, and it's just a fun movie. It's just your typical formulaic slasher. It's really fun. It's cool because she has a weapon, and she's taken on more of the heroine role in the movie. In the first movie, she's very much like a scared young teenage babysitter, kind of running for her life and trying to survive. This one, she kind of hunts him, so it's kind of a cool little dynamic shift. And LL Cool J's in the movie. He plays a
No,
security
I
guard, so it's just a fun
think I've
little.
seen that. I think I'm pretty sure I've
Yeah,
seen
it's just funny. It's just he's talking to his wife on the phone. Uh, there are a few scenes where he's talking to his wife on the phone, and he's reading erotic literature that he's writing. It's just ridiculous. The whole movie's just crazy and fun, but a real fun action packed. One of my favorite stunts I've ever seen in a movie, and I don't know if he really did it, but it looked really badass. There's a scene where Laurie is walking through the halls in a university. So she's actually the headmistress of the school, and Michael is hanging on a pipe with one arm, and he's got his butcher knife in the other arm, and he lowers himself from the pipe with one arm, like pretty much a slow pull up negative.
Yeah.
And you don't hear him, but she knows he's there, and she gets him the axe or whatever. But talk about one of the most impressive displays of strength I've ever seen. Probably fake, but looked really badass in the movie.
Love
So,
it.
but it was cool. So that's definitely one of them. Have you ever seen the movie Trick or Treat?
No, I don't think I have.
So this is a random movie that I just stumbled upon one year during Halloween, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and the movie came out mid 2000s, maybe 2007, 2008, or something like that. And it's another fun movie. It's a little bit of a collection of short stories kind of put together. There's a bit of a Tarantino vibe to it. It's very violent. There's some super violent scenes in it, but there's intersecting storylines. So you'll see multiple characters at different points in the story, which is really really fun. And I'm trying to think of there aren't a lot of big name actors in there, but people that you would remember and
Yeah.
recognize. But I'm sure you've seen True Blood. Anna Paquin from True Blood,
Yeah. Yep.
the lady that plays Sookie. So she's in it. She's probably one of the biggest stars. Have you ever seen the X-Men movies?
Yeah, I like the X-Men movies a lot.
Yeah. Do you remember the guy that played William Stryker? So the older, like, military commander that led the Weapon X program, which basically he was the guy that got Wolverine into the lab to do the procedure to have the adamantium
I'm
grafted
not
to his
sure
skin.
if I don't know. I don't know if I
That's
have.
okay.
Yeah.
He has a minor role in the movie. You'll know this guy's voice though. All the McDonald's commercials. Ba da ba ba ba.
Oh, really? I
That's
didn't know
him.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the actor. I'm blanking on
Okay.
his name, but he's in it, and he plays a fun, like, he's just an old curmudgeon character. And there's a creepy like pumpkin head character in the movie that's just absolutely terrifying. So it's a good one. You should totally watch it if you're into
Awesome.
horror. The next one, Beetlejuice. I
Yeah.
love it. I'm
Good
not
choice.
saying the name 3 times because I'm not unleashing that hell upon us, but I love that movie. I think Michael Keaton is just. I think he's amazing. He's one of my favorite actors. He's obviously Batman, which I love him for
Yeah.
that. But I think that movie Beetlejuice is so entertaining. It's so fun, and Christina Ricci, super young in that movie, super fun, and it's just a great one to throw on.
Totally.
So that's all right. So we're at 3 now. I would have to. So Nightmare on Elm Street would have to be the next one. That's the original Freddy Krueger movie. I just rewatched it recently, and despite the fact that that movie is going to be 40 years old
I didn't know
within
that.
the next few years, that movie still scares the living daylights out of me. The visual effects are dated. Obviously, the movie came out in the 1980s. Fun little trivia for you: it's the very first movie that Johnny Depp was ever in.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he's super young. It's It's so funny seeing him in it. But I always thought that concept was really crazy and really scary, and how when you fall asleep, that's when he obviously comes to get you. So
Yeah, he's
it's
kind of freaky looking too.
yes, absolutely. I would say out of the three, he's the one I would least want to have come and get me. The fifth one, you're gonna laugh at me. So I grew up. I love those '80s, '70s, and '80s slasher films, which I've just
Me
mentioned a
too.
bunch of them. Freddy versus Jason is a total guilty pleasure. It's just a slasher movie mashup. It's got Freddy versus Jason, and it is objectively an awful movie in every measure. The writing's terrible. The plot is just absurd, but it's just a fun ride. It's just super
Yep.
fun. It's just crazy, and I just love it. It's just a total guilty pleasure. So that's my five. So what I'd say, so Halloween H2O, Trick or Treat, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy versus Jason, and Beetlejuice. Boom.
Yeah, I think I don't like I said, I don't necessarily have like a top five, quote unquote, but like I definitely Halloween's up there. Like just that theme song, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, like that, like it just that theme song alone, like always sticks out at me for sure. And like I actually watched the more recent one that just came out.
Oh, you did? How was it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I would say like pretty good. I mean, it's one of those things.
Yeah,
After you see the other ones, in my opinion, it wasn't like really. It wasn't like the best movie I've ever seen. But as far as from a Halloween standpoint, because they've done it before,
yeah.
um, it's one of those things. It's hard to rehash or remake a lot of these movies. I think they were. I don't want to say like remakes to me are just the same old thing, but in reality, it's what they're doing.
Yeah.
I liked it. I definitely think it's worth seeing if you've never, if you haven't watched.
Yeah.
If you watch all the other ones and you haven't seen this one,
Oh, I've seen all of them, Eric. I've seen all of them multiple times. I'm one of those weirdos.
and then like yeah, I would say for me, yeah, Freddie, definitely like the Freddy Krueger movies. Jason movies were pretty good too. You didn't mention Jason at all. We just said
Yeah.
Freddy versus Jason, but
Yeah.
um, I was gonna say the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, classic. Love it.
That's a classic. I think of that theme song all the time. Like that's another one that makes me think of Halloween. And then you get into like it's funny as a kid. I just remember a lot of nostalgia growing up with Halloween, like Goosebumps. Remember like Goosebumps?
Oh, yeah. Are you
Yeah.
kidding, dude? I love
That
that.
theme song sticks in my head.
Oh, it's creepy. The scene with the dog eyes lighting up, that's creepy as hell, man.
Yeah. So I would say like those type of movies, and like there's some movies I don't know. Like you ever watch like Amityville Horror?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's up there for me.
I've seen those, actually. I've seen the original and the remake. The remake
Kind of
was actually
creepy,
really good.
kind of creepy, yeah, a little bit. Like yeah, these are movies that like I don't have like a top list because it's kind of scattered with these, but these are ones that I like. And then Hocus Pocus. Everyone always says Hocus Pocus is like a
Classic.
top pick for a lot of people.
Oh, it's
And
great.
then yeah, I think those are the main ones. You covered a lot of ground when you said yours. I was like, yeah, yep, I agree with a lot of those. Trying to think of other like dark movies that I really like, other thrillers. I would say those are probably the main ones. I mean, I like the Final Destination series.
Oh, I do
There's
too.
the Final Destination. I mean, that's a thriller, but like you had mentioned, thriller type movies too can kind of fall into that camp. So
Yeah. Oh, no,
but
no, I agree. I think the first couple especially were very,
and
very
then
good.
like those are like true horror. I said like the true horror movies, like the Halloweens and like the Freddy movies and stuff like that. But also like the ones where they make fun of it, like the Scary Movie. Remember Scary Movie? Like those movies are
Oh,
stupid, but
love
the
them.
original. I like the original. I like the second one. I think after the second one, it got kind of weird, but
Yeah.
I remember the first two a lot. But outside of that, I think those are like probably the main ones. It's funny because
Oh,
like
yeah.
when I think of Halloween, like there's like a few things that come to mind. Like I said, the movie Halloween for sure. You mentioned the Freddy movies being up there. What was the other one you had said? There was one that I really liked that you said too. Can't remember the second or third one you said.
Not Trick or Treat, the Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy versus
Well,
Jason.
oh, maybe not.
Oh, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Yeah, Beetlejuice. That's another one. I was gonna say Beetlejuice. That's the one I was like, I didn't know what order you had said that in, but yeah, Beetlejuice is definitely high up on the list too because that's a classic for sure. It's been around for a
Oh,
long
so
time.
good.
So yeah, man, I think we covered a lot of ground on those. I think we're good.
Pretty solid. Yeah, no, good stuff. I definitely had fun, and that's one thing we're gonna do for y'all. So if you only want the fitness content, you can definitely just kind of stop it when we hit that final pop culture segment, which is totally fine. But I think it's fun because you can get a chance to kind of get to know us and learn a little bit more about us other than just workouts, fitness, and nutrition.
Yeah.
So, Eric, do you have anything else you want to add, or you want to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I was gonna say if there's anything else that the audience wants to hear as far as pop culture stuff, movie reviews, you want to know about certain events or entertainment, whatever it is, just let us know and we'll talk about it at some point. I think eventually, I think a good goal when we get everybody on, get Sean, and Tommy on, stuff like that, and other guests. I think if we start doing like a rapid fire questions again, getting
Yeah,
those back in
definitely.
there. So I think having fun with those and like you had said, getting to know each other more and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, if there's anything specific people want to hear, let us know and we'll incorporate it.
Oh, absolutely, man. No, that sounds fantastic. I'm all about it. But we want to thank all of you so much for watching, tuning in, and listening. Now that we're on both YouTube and Spotify, anything that you would like us to cover as far as fitness, health, nutrition, mindset, productivity, and movies, we're huge pop culture nerds here as well. Feel free to comment below on the YouTube video or hit us in the Instagram DMs. You can hit us on Strength with Purpose Instagram page, or the Deadlifts Dogs, the DDDJ podcast
That's right.
Instagram
Yeah.
page as well, or
Thanks a
hit
lot.
up my man echichu23. So send us a DM, comment on one of our posts, let us know what you would like us to talk about, and we'll leave it there. Want to leave you with this inspiring mission for yourself: train your body, feed your mind.